Fellow Rotarians, aunts, friends, ladies and gentlemen, it is our second official meeting for the Rotary year 2026-2027. And by the authority vested in me by the Rotary Club of Makati, I call this meeting to order.
Thank you, Press Chris. I'd now like to invite Mr. Jamian Lai to lead the invocation, please. Thank you.
Please all rise.
Dear fellow Rotarians and guests, let us pray. Heavenly Father, we thank you for bringing us together in the spirit of Rotary fellowship and service. Guide our thoughts and actions as we meet today, that all we do may contribute to the well-being of our communities and the promotion of peace and understanding. We ask your blessing upon our guest speaker, Ms. Sharon Fitzgerald. Grant her wisdom and clarity as she shares her insights. May her presentation deepen our understanding of opportunities for cooperation, progress, and sustainable development. Bless each Rotarian and guest present today with open minds, discerning hearts, and a renewed commitment to service above self. We ask this in your holy name. Amen.
Please remain standing for the singing of the Philippine National Anthem, followed by the singing of the RC Makati hymn.
Mga kababayan, ang pambansang awit ng Pilipinas. Kayang magiliw, pero sa sinakalan, alam ng puso, sa tingin ko'y buhay. Lupang hinirang, kuya ka ng magiting, sa manlulupin, di ka masisigil, sa nagatang putok sa simoy at sa langit ang baraw, ay hinatang tulakaw
remain standing for the recitation of the four-way test. Ron, is there anyone who's supposed to lead us in? I am. Jesus Christ. Okay, so fellow Rotarians, you know what this is. Is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendships? And will it be beneficial to all concerned? And what is the answer to all these questions? Yes! Thank you. Thank you so much. You may take your seats. Okay, you may take your seats. Okay, so I'd like to take this occasion to acknowledge our dignitaries, our aunts, and our guests for today. Okay, so when your name is called, please stand up to be recognized. Past District Governor Tony Kila, are you here, sir? Incidentally, he was the same past district governor who inducted me into membership in Rotary Club of Makati. Past District Governor Peps Bengzon, of course. Gov. Immediate past District Governor Reggie Nolido, who had a very good introduction during the induction ceremony for Press Chris. Our aunts. First Ann Net. Yes, hello. Miss Tess Asioche. Yes. Incidentally, the wife of my former boss, attorney Luis Angel Louis Asioche. And Rina Collantes. And Trina Galvez. And Rachel Harrison. And Lu Lim Hoko. And Dana Montinola. And Menchu Pascual. And Marie Segura. And Mita Sullivan. And Anne Kathy Turville. And we also have a number of guests, starting with Director Luis Carino of the Office of the President's Investment Unit. Welcome to Rotary Club of Makati. Ms. Jennifer Schmidt of the United States Embassy as well in Manila. Oh, she's stuck in traffic. That is excusable. Mr. Adam Adonis, guest of George Haxton. Mr. Chito Panlilio, guest of past President Tito Panlilio. This is Louis or Louis Mangulabnan, prospective member. Are you here? Yes. Hello. Welcome. From Give Me a Book, Miss, I'm not sure. This is French. Shauna, is this Lagoute or Lagute? Could you please correct me? Lagoute? Okay. Yeah. Bienvenue. I'm not sure if this is French, but anyway, thank you. Miss Cynthia Naval, also from Give Me a Book. Welcome to Rotary Club of Makati. Eric Manyalak. Any relation to Andy? You think so? Jeffrey B.W. Little of the Sisters Club RC Sydney. Are you? Hello. Welcome to not just RC Makati, but the Philippines. Thank you so much. So we now have the portion on our welcome song and AVP to be screened, presumably at this side. Yeah. So calling on the Secretariat to fire up the presentation, if any.
Friends of Rotary, we greet you. All friends of Rotary, we greet you. We want you to feel that our friendship is real. We are glad you're here
you so much, and welcome to the Rotary Club of Makati. So, at this juncture, I'd like to invite again. I think I was not able to immediately appreciate the music of this man, but I'd like to call back Diego to the front to perhaps perform another piece for us. One of those impassioned and beautiful pieces. Yeah, I was too busy conferring with the Secretariat and our President to fully appreciate it, but now I'll get to. You as well.
Fellow Rotarians, just one request from our friend Diego. Let's focus on him for maybe 2 to 3 minutes. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Diego. That was beautiful, impassioned, and well, if I'm not mistaken, that was whose favorite? Imelda Marcos, the Rose of Tacloban, and of course, Attorney Boy could very much identify with that one. Thank you so much again, Diego. That was beautiful. So we now greet our birthday and wedding anniversary. Oh, there's none. Okay, so at this point, we'd like to greet our birthday and wedding anniversary celebrators, starting with those celebrating their birthday. August 4, Rotarian Philip Saya. August 7th, past President Bimbo Mills. August 9, Rotarian Peter Coyuto. I think I saw him earlier. Our Rotary aunts, August 5, Beth Periquet. Or is it Periquet? Sorry. August 8, Julie Keener. August 9, Mitzi Parungao. And August 10, Menchu Pascual. Wedding anniversaries, August 8, Ira and Julie Keener. Happy anniversary. And to Philip and Kathy, say August 10th. Okay, so all those I called on earlier, please come to the front. We have a special surprise for you all. Birthday celebrators and those celebrating their wedding anniversaries alike, please come to the front. Thank you. Check. Traditionally, I'd have to call on Attorney Luis Angel Asioche, but unless he refuses, of course. But he gave me a stern warning not to call on him. But good thing we have past President Junjun Dairit to come to the front to lead us. And by request, immediate past District Governor Reggie Nolido, please come to the front to lead us in singing.
Sir Chito Cantada is also there.
It is your birthday and wedding day. Let's celebrate. Important day. We deep in our hearts still a happy birthday. Happy birthday.
And we expected no less. Thank you for that number. Okay, thank you. Please settle down. I'd like to call on, for the recognition of our presumably new Paul Harris Fellows. It's a tradition in our club. It's an unwritten rule that we are all Paul Harris Fellows. But I'd like to call on past District Governor Tony Keela for that purpose. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'm always very happy when I do my role as acknowledger of our very generous members who continue to contribute as Rotary, as Paul Harris Fellows to the Rotary International Foundation. I would like to call as first one a who always be the very first member to contribute to the Rotary Foundation as Paul Harris every Rotary year. And now again, he is the first one to contribute as Paul Harris. May I call on Waslu. This is Waslu's ninth Paul Harris, so that next year, when he contributes again, he will be a major donor. So, and we'll have our President, Chris Ferraresa, to pin the pin. The next one I'll call is our Winston Uy for his fifth Paul Harris. He will have a sapphire with 4 stones. Waslu has a pin with 3 rubies. Then let's be call on our baby Rotarians, 2 of them, Bertie Montenola and Jamian Lai. Thank you very much, our generous Rotarian. Then for acknowledgement, just recognize our immediate past president, Eddie Galvez, who continues to contribute as a major donor to the Rotary International Foundation. Thank you, IPB Eddie.
Thank you so much, past District Governor Tony Keela, as well as the Paul Harris Fellows, the new and renewing donors to the Paul Harris Foundation. Okay. I know we're all excited to hear from our guest speaker, but we do have a memorandum of agreement signing and turnover of donation. So for that purpose, no. My sincerest apologies for that. Okay, so apologies. Okay, so we'd like to call on the representatives from Give Me a Book Foundation, Inc., and of course, Chris Ferraresa. Oh, yes. You're right. So Ms. Chona Lagut. Thank you. Joining them as witnesses are past District Governor Peps Bengzon and Community Service A Director Bom Villatuya on behalf of the Rotary Club of Makati, as well as Ms. Cynthia Naval representing the Give Me a Book Foundation. Ladies and gentlemen, through this collaboration, the Rotary Club of Makati is providing an initial grant of 96,000 pesos for the development, printing, and distribution of Filipino-leveled books. These books will be distributed to the identified recipient public schools, helping strengthen independent reading and reading comprehension among Filipino learners. This initial grant forms part of the club's total commitment of 169,000 pesos for the program. The remaining 73,000 pesos will be turned over once the remaining 2 levels of the Filipino level books have been completed, printed, and are ready for distribution to the recipient schools. At that time, the club and GMB Foundation will likewise execute a separate memorandum of agreement covering the second phase of the project. Ladies and gentlemen, a round of applause, please. To give us a few words, I'd like to call to the front Ms. Chona Lagut to give us just a few words, ma'am. Thank you. Yes, please. Yeah.
Okay, Peps asked me to speak in French because he speaks French. Oh, sorry, Governor Peps. Anyway, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for giving us the opportunity to work with you. Just from the few things that I saw at the beginning with you, I really admire Rotarians for your commitment and your devotion and everything that you're doing to help those in need. I started Give Me a Book Foundation 4 years ago as a direct response to our country's literacy crisis. You've probably read everywhere about how bad the situation is. The last report that I read was that 86% or 87% of grade 11 Filipino children cannot understand what they read. And that is real. I go to schools. I just visited 24 schools in Ilocos, Palayan, and Batangas. And that is a real problem. So what you're doing today, and actually, can I correct you? Because this started when it was President Keith. The first donation was made to 2 schools in Batangas. But our books are not just regular books. What our books do is it helps children learn how to read. The biggest problem is that Filipino children have no books in schools that help them learn how to read. I had the privilege of working in 3 different international schools in France and in Germany, and I was surrounded by thousands of books when I taught reading. And imagine, in all the schools that I go to, our books, I brought some samples to show you. Would you mind just picking it from my bag, Cha? Our books are the first books that these kids ever hold in their hands. Can you imagine? You probably have children and grandchildren who learn how to read with books. Filipino children don't have books to learn how to read. And so that spark of literacy is never really ignited. They learn to read from worksheets, from the blackboard, from old books. So we have developed 280 titles in 7 different levels. The magic of our books is that every single child finds the level that is just the perfect fit for him so that he can have a starting point and then get better and better. And it's only through leveled books that that child will actually achieve that level of foundational literacy in 3rd grade that will help them succeed in school. So you have already affected the lives of some 360 grade 1 to 3 children in those 2 schools in Mataas na Kahoy, Batangas. But every year, there's a new batch of kids who come in. So your donation keeps on growing. We've made our books beautiful and very sturdy so that they last for 10 years. We teach the teachers in schools how to take care of books so that your donation will keep on having its effect. So I want to say thank you to Governor Peps because he gave me such a hard time. He asked me the hardest questions in life about teaching reading and why do kids have to learn in Tagalog or Filipino. And I passed his test. And thanks to that, we have this donation. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Ms. Chona Lagut, Mademoiselle Lagut. Très bien, et merci beaucoup. Okay, so perhaps we have announcements on club functions and other committee announcements. So I'd like to call on the Secretariat if there are any such announcements to be made. If there is none, we go now to, I'd like to invite Press Chris Ferrareza for the president's time. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Attorney Andre. Good afternoon, fellow Rotarians and friends. Okay, protocols observed. Just a special welcome to our guest speaker, Ms. Sharon Fitzgerald, Economic Counselor of the United States Embassy in Manila, who will be properly introduced later in our program. And also a special thanks to Diego, our celloist, for playing that wonderful piece for us. I saw President Eddie singing earlier, very emotionally, "Dahil Sa'yo." Okay, it's wonderful to see everyone as we gather for our first meeting of August. It seems only yesterday that we formally began. It seems that only yesterday that we formally began this Rotary year, and yet we have already completed our first month together. Before I continue, I'd like to invite everyone to watch our RC Makati video news, which captures the many projects, fellowship activities, and milestones that filled our opening month. Please play the video.
July marks the beginning of a new Rotary year, and for the Rotary Club of Makati, it was a month of action from day one. The new Rotary year officially began with the club's first board meeting, where the board convened to appoint committee officers, approve key appointments, and adopt the budget that will guide another year of impactful service. On July 3, RC Makati joined the District 3830 handover ceremonies at Makati, Manila. During the event, President Christopher Peretta, together with the high-impact presidents, formally took his oath of office before District Governor Jazz Limon. Service quickly followed the celebration. July 4, RC Makati partnered with the Rotary Club of Paranaque, St. Andrews, for the annual Children's Day celebration at Rotary Homes Paranaque. More than 200 children received school kits as members personally distributed supplies to help prepare them for the new school year. The event also celebrated another milestone as members of RCT Par 1 and RCT Par 3 formally signed their Memorandum of Commitment, signifying their shared vision of establishing a community cooperative that will create sustainable opportunities for their families. The day concluded with an urban gardening segment led by the Rotaract Club of Makati, where the community learned how to plant vegetables while discovering the importance of environmental stewardship and sustainable food production. On July 6, RC Makati met with the top 4 winners from the first 2 batches of the FILA to explore future collaborations through the soon-to-be-established FILA Alumni Academy. The club officially opened its regular meetings on July 7, with its first lunch meeting at the RC Makati Clubhouse. During the session, the club's directors presented their plans, objectives, and budgets, laying out the roadmap for another year of service, fellowship, and impactful projects. July 8 was a day dedicated to fellowship. In the morning, members gathered for the first ball fellowship of the Rotary year at the Legends Course of Southwoods Golf Club, graciously hosted by Javi Calleja. That evening, PDG Sid and Tetra Garcia welcomed the board members and their spouses to their Southwoods home for an evening fellowship, friendship, and meaningful conversations as they celebrated the beginning of another Rotary year. On July 11, the AI Academy Cohort 2, composed of 78 learners, presented their capstone pitches, showcasing innovative AI-powered solutions designed to address real-world community needs. On July 14, RC Makati launched its first out-of-town service project of the Rotary Year in Tanay Rizal through the Food Share Program. The initiative brought hope and practical support to 60 Dumagat Remontado families from barangays Mamuyao and Baibag. More than providing food assistance, the program seeks to empower indigenous communities by helping them build sustainable livelihoods and improve their quality of life. On July 16, the RC Makati Clubhouse became a gathering place for fellowship as the club welcomed its sister clubs and brother clubs from the Philippines and abroad for the welcome dinner ahead of the 61st induction ball. It was an evening of reconnecting with old friends, strengthening international partnerships, and celebrating the bonds of Rotary through fellowship. The biggest event of the month and of the Rotary Year came on July 17 with the 61st induction ball at the Regodon Ballroom of the Peninsula, Manila. Inspired by the musical Hamilton, the evening showcased RC Makati's tradition of creativity, elegance, and excellence. More than the black tie celebration, the induction ball honored the achievements of the past year, welcomed President Christopher Peralta and the new leadership team, and reaffirmed the club's enduring commitment to service above self. Just a day later, on July 18, it was back to work at the RC Makati Clubhouse. AI Academy learners once again impressed everyone as they participated in a surprise capstone pitch session before visiting Rotarians from RC Singapore, RC Kota Kinabalu, and RC Cagayan de Oro. On July 19, fellowship continued with a Sunday mini social graciously hosted by PP Sonny and Terry Tambunting for the visiting delegation from RC Kota Kinabalu. Service resumed on July 20 as RC Makati supported the transformative health mission in Southwoods, delivering essential medical and health services to members of the community. Later that afternoon, the club celebrated the culmination day of the cookery training program for 8 scholars from Rotary Homes Muntinlupa, conducted in partnership with the Home Culinary and Technical School. The program equipped the beneficiaries with valuable culinary skills. On July 24, the club held its first Friday Night Lights Fellowship of the Rotary Year, hosted by our June and July birthday celebrants. It was an evening filled with laughter, music, great conversations, and renewed camaraderie. On July 25 and 26, past President Keith Harrison and Rachel Harrison represented RC Makati at the 79th induction of the Rotary Club of Cagayan de Oro. They also visited 2 joint projects, the first 1,000 Days program for teenage mothers and the proposed Special Magic 2 Global Grant, which aims to train teachers and caregivers in supporting children with special needs, further strengthening the partnership between the 2 clubs. On July 26, a Sunday, RC Makati once again demonstrated that there is no weekend when it comes to service as the club carried out 2 meaningful community projects. The day began at Rotary Homes Muntinlupa, where the club conducted the orientation for the formation of a Rotary community course composed of families residing in the community. As the sole donor of the 40 homes in Rotary Homes Muntinlupa, RC Makati continues to invest not only in infrastructure, but also in empowering residents to become partners in service, ensuring the growth of the community. Immediately afterward, members proceeded to the Loretta 2 Activity Center in support of Diabetes Awareness Week, one of the Rotary's key initiatives under the Disease Prevention and Treatment Area of Focus. The month concluded with the club's luncheon meeting at Makati Shangri-La, featuring Attorney Emmanuel Gison, Commissioner in charge of the Presidential Commission for the Urban Poor, as guest speaker. During the meeting, RC Makati and the Presidential Commission for Urban Poor also formally signed a memorandum of understanding, marking the beginning of a strategic partnership that will bring together RC Makati's resources, technical expertise, and volunteer network with the PCUP's extended community reach to implement sustainable development programs that will uplift urban poor communities. As July came to a close, RC Makati had already completed an extraordinary first month of the new Rotary year, strengthening fellowship, expanding partnerships, empowering communities, and transforming lives through meaningful service. With this strong foundation, the club looks forward to many more opportunities to live out Rotary's enduring motto, service above self.
All right, thank you. Before I move on, I'd like to acknowledge the presence of Lady Tesha and Lady Yvonne Kwan. Don't worry, I know the video is too long, so I'll cut my speech short. Most of the content anyway are in the Kaunlaran. Looking back, July was a month of energy and momentum. We launched new initiatives, strengthened existing programs, welcomed friends from overseas, and continued creating meaningful impact in our communities. Those accomplishments give us every reason to look ahead with confidence. The year is still young, and I believe the best chapters of our Rotary story are still waiting to be written. Together, let us continue to make every month even more meaningful than the last. This afternoon, we are privileged to have with us Miss Sharon Fitzgerald, who will discuss the Luzon Economic Corridor and why it has attracted the support of 11 nations. This initiative has become an important topic in discussions on economic growth, regional cooperation, and investment opportunities. I am certain we will gain valuable insights from today's presentation. So without further ado, let me now give back the microphone to Andre so our guest speaker can be introduced. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Press Chris. Sorry, why am I holding this? Well, I'm holding it. And now, ladies and gentlemen, it is that time to introduce our guest speaker for today. I'd like to call on our Vice President and Director, Mr. Philip Sullivan. Let me put this here. They won't have a hard time.
Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. We haven't had a group this big in a while, right? And many of us are here because the topic we're going to cover today is something that's, well covered in the media. They talk about it as Pax Silica, but broadly speaking, actually, this is the Luzon Economic Corridor. So I'm very happy to introduce our guest speaker, who is directly involved with the initiative, representing the U.S. government. But before I introduce her, there is a request from the guest speaker and the embassy that for the question and answer session that we will have after, she's agreed to answer questions. Obviously, some of the questions are probably going to be a little bit sensitive, and she'd like to be able to respond to them as candidly as possible. So they request that we do not take video or do post Facebook posts on during the Q&A session, just so that any responses that are given by Sharon are kept within the room. So hopefully you can accede to that request, please. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce our guest speaker, Sharon Fitzgerald, who joined the U.S. Embassy in Manila as Counselor for Economic Affairs in May 2025. She's a career member of the United States Foreign Service. She joined the Department of State in 2011, and prior to Manila, she served as Deputy Counselor and Acting Counselor for the Political and Economic Section of the U.S. Embassy in Dhaka in Bangladesh. She led the reporting of efforts during the historic July 2024 student uprising and August 2024 fall of the government, the Bangladeshi government. Sharon completed multiple tours in Washington, including as Chief of Staff of the Office of the Assistant Secretary for Eastern Affairs and Pacific Affairs, Vietnam Desk Unit Chief, Secretary of State Mike Pompeo's Special Assistant in the department's Executive Secretariat. In addition to Dhaka, Sharon's overseas postings included Tijuana, Mexico, Seoul in South Korea, Erbil in Iraqi Kurdistan. She's a graduate from the University of Georgia and earned her master's degree from the Yonsei University in Seoul and the American University in Washington. She speaks Korean as well. So with that, I'd like to welcome to the podium Sharon Fitzgerald.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for that very warm welcome. And Philip, when you and Chris reached out to me to invite me to this lunch, I did not know it was going to be the hottest party in town today, complete with live music, a birthday and anniversary celebrations. And I can only say that please invite me back in November because it's not only my birthday, but my anniversary. So double whammy. Yeah. Your birthday too. And, it's nice to be among friends. I saw Rick Santos come in and, of course, Philip from my AmCham fellow board member activities and Ambassador Melvin from the Diplomatic Corps. So really nice to see you. But again, thank you, everyone. And we can go ahead and get started. I know there are some slides, but let's go ahead and get started. But, good afternoon again. Thank you to the Rotary Club of Makati for the invitation. I want to especially thank Chris Federeza and Vice President Philip Salvian, Rotarian Jamian Lai, Attorney Andre De Jesus, and past district governors Tony Pila, Sid Garcia, and Pepito Bengzon for hosting me today. I'd also like to introduce and acknowledge my colleague, Jennifer Schmidt, who's on my team. She is our Luzon Economic Corridor lead for the embassy and is tireless in her efforts to advance this initiative. I really don't want to miss the opportunity to acknowledge and welcome our partner in crime, shall we say, for the government of the Philippines, Director Liz Carino from the Office of the President. Really, I can't underestimate when I say that Jen and Louise are the engines that drive, especially the momentum of the past year. So thank you again for being here, both of you. Again, we work hand in hand with Louise, and I have to emphasize this is a trilateral initiative, so we also work with our Japanese counterparts every day to really push the momentum forward. So thank you again. So now turning to the topic of today, the Luzon Economic Corridor, and I should say I'm speaking from the U.S. government perspective, even though this is a trilateral initiative, this is the U.S. government perspective. I would like to answer 3 questions today. First, what is the Luzon Economic Corridor? And I should tell you on this slide, I know the title of today's presentation, why are 11 partners investing in the Philippines' future? But I can actually say it's 12 because we are happy to say that the EU is now a partner in the initiative as well. So. And we are hopeful to announce further partners in the pipeline, but not today. We know we're working toward that outcome. But second, why are we now 12 partners, including the Philippines, United States, and Japan? Why are we investing our time, expertise, and resources? And finally, why does it matter for Philippines businesses, communities, and investors? My hope is that you'll leave here today not only with a better understanding of what the corridor is, but also with a vision of how each of us can shape its future. Why don't we go to the next slide? So I'd like to emphasize that the ingredients for growth are already here. The story starts with geography. The corridors, and I'm telling an audience of experts, I really don't have to tell you this, but I would like to repeat it. It's home to roughly 40% of the Philippine population, half of its economy, and more than 80% of its port traffic. So the ingredients already exist. We have major ports, we have airports, universities, industrial parks, a talented workforce, and a significant energy infrastructure. So the Luzon Economic Corridor isn't about creating these strengths from scratch. It's about connecting them more effectively and unlocking their full potential. Let's go to slide 3. So we're talking here about great economic regions, and one clear example comes to mind, and we're thinking of Silicon Valley. So why do you think Silicon Valley? What do you think of Silicon Valley? What made it successful? No one says it was just one company or one road. Oops, can we go back? Oh, sorry. Yeah, it was the combination of talent, universities, entrepreneurs, investors, suppliers, and infrastructure all working together. So the Luzon Economic Corridor starts with this same idea. We already have the ingredients. Our opportunity is to connect them in ways that make the whole region more competitive because all of those strengths reinforce one another. Let's go to slide 4. So again, what is the Luzon Economic Corridor? At its heart, it's a partnership. It's a partnership between the Philippines, the United States, and Japan, and a growing coalition of international partners that builds on each partner's strengths to catalyze private sector investment. And I would like to foot stomp here, it's private sector investment. It's catalyzing the strengths of the private sector. All of you in this room, I would like to emphasize that. The LEC aligns strengths around a shared vision of a more connected, competitive, and prosperous Luzon. It catalyzes investment by building confidence and bringing together the foundations businesses need to succeed. And ultimately, it delivers stronger connectivity, more resilient supply chains, quality jobs, and expanded opportunities for the Filipino people. The government's role is to align strengths and build confidence. The private sector's role is to invest, innovate, and grow. And together, that's how the corridor turns partnership into projects, projects into jobs, and jobs into stronger communities. Let's go to slide 5. So we talk about the corridor in terms of the building blocks of competitiveness, and we talk about 3. So we focus on 3 foundations. Transportation and logistics move people and goods. We all know, as I work at the embassy every day and sit in traffic on Rojas Boulevard and see the lines and lines of container trucks going up and down, causing me a lot of time spent on my phone, working in the car. And all of you have done the same. We all wish we could move goods and people faster. So really, it's about transportation and logistics, moving people and goods. It's also about energy, which powers economic growth. It's about digital infrastructure and advanced manufacturing that position the Philippines for the industries of the future. Together, these foundations make the region more competitive for investment. So again, 3 areas. We have transportation and logistics, energy, digital infrastructure, and advanced manufacturing. Let's go on to slide 6. So here we have 4 anchors that equal 1 connected economy. These aren't 4 separate projects. They're 4 anchors of a connected economy. Subic is the maritime gateway, where the United States is making significant strategic investments to build out key port infrastructure. Clark is the innovation and aviation hub, where leading U.S. shipping and cargo firms base their Philippine operations. Manila is the commercial and financial center, and Batangas is the energy and industrial gateway. Just as importantly, the communities and industrial zones between these anchors are every bit as much part of the corridor. Go on to the next slide. So thinking about from vision to reality. So when the Luzon Economic Corridor was launched in April 2024, it was a vision. It was a very bold vision. And just over 2 years later, we're now seeing the vision become a reality. As we said before, the partnership has grown from 3 countries to now 12. Major infrastructure projects are moving forward. The Philippines has enacted important investment reforms. And perhaps most importantly, the private sector is responding with new investments and expansions across the corridor. Again, the corridor is no longer just an idea, it's demonstrating real momentum. So let's talk about transportation and logistics. The next slide. Actually, I would like to point out this photo. Some of you might recognize a friend in the front center of the photo. That's now Ambassador Heather Variava, who was formerly the Deputy Chief of Mission at the U.S. Embassy in Manila. And we're so thrilled to have her back leading the charge on Luzon Economic Corridor based in Washington, D.C. She was out here in May, leading the steering committee that we held in May, and then she'll be back for the investment forum that I'll talk about very soon, but happy to see Heather in that photo. good friend. So when the Luzon Economic Corridor again was, oh, sorry, slide 8, transportation and logistics. I just want to give you a few examples. And again, this is, multiple projects across the partners in the corridor initiative. Transportation and logistics is about making it easier for people and goods to move. Think about Japan. Japan is supporting the North-South commuter railway, which will better connect Calamba, Manila, and Clark. Think about the proposed Subic-Clark-Batangas freight railway that would strengthen freight movement across the corridor. The U.S. government, through a $3.8 million U.S. Trade and Development Agency grant, is funding a feasibility study to develop the line. At the same time, investments in ports, airports, and logistics from Subic and Batangas to Clark and Naiya are improving connectivity. Companies like ICTSI, U.S. companies UPS and FedEx are already investing in these networks. Again, better connectivity lowers cost, strengthens supply chains, and creates new opportunities for businesses. Let's talk next about energy. Every investor eventually asks the same question about the Philippines. Can I count on reliable and affordable power? This is why energy is one of the corridor's 3 foundations. The LAC initiative supports LNG infrastructure, grid modernization, civil nuclear cooperation, and additional reserve power to improve reliability. Reliable energy gives businesses the confidence to invest, expand, and create jobs. Going on to digital infrastructure and advanced manufacturing, third pillar. The third foundation is digital infrastructure and advanced manufacturing. The future economy will depend on trusted digital networks, data centers, semiconductors, and advanced manufacturing. The planned economic security zone in Clark, New Clark City, under the United States-Philippines Pax Silica initiative, and I should stress this is a bilateral initiative, so separate from the Luzon Economic Corridor initiative, but lies in the corridor itself. This initiative reflects that the long-term vision by creating a location to designed to attract high-value industries. Companies such as Texas Instruments, Amcor, TE Connectivity, Eaton, and Collins Aerospace, all U.S. companies, already demonstrate the strength of the Philippines' advanced manufacturing base. Go on to the next slide. Why are businesses leaning in? Investment follows confidence. Businesses are leaning into the corridor because several things are coming together at once. Again, improved infrastructure, better connectivity, investment reforms on behalf of the Philippines, like the Create More Act, the Public-Private Partnership Code, and longer lease terms, and a growing concentration of talent, suppliers, and industrial activity. But confidence isn't created overnight. It's built steadily, and that's exactly what we're seeing. On to the next slide. So this is a great slide. We call it 12 partners, 12 strengths. One thing that makes the corridor different is that every partner, the original partners and our newest partners, contribute where it can make the greatest difference, complementing existing projects and reinforcing a more holistic approach to developing the corridor. So each new partner country brings its relative strengths. We all do not have the same investment and development model. We bring different models. So we figure out with our friends in the Philippine government where these relative strengths make the most sense. And then we work with our respective private sector interested investors who come to us with questions, and we try to point them in the right direction. So reinforcing that Japan brings transportation expertise. All of you in this room know that Japan is really the leader in transportation. The United States helps mobilize investment, innovation, and energy cooperation. Sweden provides rail expertise. The United Kingdom brings export finance. The EU supports green and digital transformation. And of course, the Philippines provides leadership and reforms. Again, no single country can build this corridor alone, and none have to. So let's go on to talk about the U.S. role. And the U.S. is a partner among 12. We contribute project preparation. And if I can direct you to the left-hand column, project preparation. So here are some of the government agencies. The first two, U.S. Trade and Development Agency, funding a lot of technical assistance and feasibility studies. So if you have a project that you're interested in, you could connect with our U.S. Trade and Development colleagues, one of whom sits here, one of whom sits in Bangkok, to talk about your potential project and how they might assist with technical assistance or a feasibility study. You might have seen the news of a feasibility study awarded for Morocco to look into small modular reactor technology. That feasibility study was announced a few months ago, and it's underway now. Most recently in May, there was a feasibility study announced to look at possibilities for Sangley Point International Airport to really improve the regional air infrastructure around the greater Manila area. So those are just two examples. And of course, we talked about the US TDA feasibility study for freight rail, which I believe is about 1 year into a 2-year project now. Of course, we bring commercial diplomacy, really helping our U.S. companies understand the investment climate here. We try to keep the playing field level for our U.S. companies here doing business in the Philippines. And then, of course, our American investors are playing a big role. So again, we bring project preparation, investment tools, commercial diplomacy, technical expertise, and companies that are already investing here. And our goal is simple: to support a stronger, more connected Philippines that creates opportunities for both our countries while strengthening resilient supply chains. Let's go on to the private sector slide. This is a really amazing slide because these aren't just logos. These are really real companies making real investment decisions. The government reduces barriers, convenes partners, and builds confidence. But again, only businesses can build factories, expand ports, hire workers, and create lasting prosperity. Again, that is why the private sector is at the center of this story, where all of you in this room can make a difference. Let's go on to the next slide. So building the corridor together. The corridor succeeds because everyone has a role to play. Governments align and enable. Businesses invest in and innovate. Communities shape the future. Universities develop talent. Local governments create welcoming investment environments. Workers build the industries that will define the next generation. And in the end, the roles are actually quite simple. Government is the catalyst. Private sector is the engine. And people are the foundation. So what's next? So this is a very exciting slide, and I have to commend Louise and Jen for all of their hard work to get us to this point, because we are so proud to announce that the inaugural, first of its kind, Luzon Economic Corridor Investor Forum will be held September 10th, 11th in Manila. This will bring investors, businesses, governments, and project sponsors to turn opportunities into partnerships. And I hope many of you will join us. Really, we really need you to bring your ideas, bring your projects, bring your partnerships. And this is where the next chapter of the corridor will be written by the private sector. So again, we are so excited. This is about 5 weeks away, 2 days, a lot of really, really high impact sessions, exchange of ideas. And then the second day will be site visits to the respective nodes in the corridor. So again, Subic, Clark, Manila, and Batangas. Okay, next slide. Just the last one. So again, I'd like to leave you with a final thought. The Luzon Economic Corridor isn't something that's being built for the Philippines. It's something we are all building together. Together, we're aligning the strengths, catalyzing investment, creating opportunities that will benefit Filipinos for decades to come. So thank you very much. I look forward to your questions. And also, I would value learning from all of you in this room, because I think your collective expertise will help us understand more and help us drive this initiative forward. So thank you again.
Thank you yet again, Ms. Sharon Fitzgerald. I'd like to open the floor now for any questions you might have. Oh, we got one right there. Andy's son. Yes, please. And then followed by 1, 2, 3. Yes. Okay. So let's moderate it. And number 4 will be Tony. Yes, please.
Okay. Thank you very much for the talk. So, as you pointed out, the Philippines already has a semiconductor workforce and infrastructure with things like Amcor, TI, and a few other companies which are also in that area. However, as I understand, the part of the semiconductor supply chain the Philippines occupies is mostly in assembly, packaging, and testing, less so things like advanced IC design, metrology, and process control, and things like that. As I understand, part of the PACSILIC initiative has the Philippines intended as migrating to other more difficult and valuable parts of that supply chain in order to provide value within that ecology. How do you or how does the State Department, I guess, see that gap between where the Philippine semiconductor workforce and where their training, education, their measurements, their instruments are now, and where they're supposed to be? Like, how does the State Department see that being bridged?
No, thank you for that question. And that's a very valid question because as you point out, where the Philippines has excelled and really developed a viable industry is around the ATP component of semiconductor manufacturing, the supply chain. So one thing we and our colleagues think about in the State Department is really how to level up. And one area in which we can be very helpful is in kind of building the workforce of the future and trying to think creatively about upskilling and taking those talents that already exist here in the Philippines and channeling it into higher level capabilities. So a few examples that I can think of are through things like our International Visitor Leadership Program, IVLP, which is a state-funded program to send kind of mid-level talent, especially up and coming government leaders, to understand the ecosystem in the United States. We actually did have a semiconductor-focused International Visitor Leadership Program delegation go to the United States. I believe it was about 6 months ago. So that is kind of one small part of the puzzle, but really understanding the full ecosystem and helping our up and coming leadership and our government counterparts here in the Philippines understand how they can leverage the talent here and really build the workforce of the future. Because you're right. I mean, it's about developing, attracting, and retaining the talent. I think retaining the talent is also a very challenging issue here in the Philippines with a lot of the kind of the high level brain drain exiting the Philippines for greater work possibilities abroad.
Thank you.
Hope that answered your question, Eric. We now call on past President Bing Matoto. I believe yes, sir.
Hi, good afternoon. Thank you very much for your presentation. Can we assume that everything's been signed, sealed, and delivered and so far as this plan is concerned, or are there any actual real risks that could still be facing the whole initiative that could block the whole thing? For example, there's been so much talk about lack of energy that would supply the power required, and second, exploitation of mineral resources. I mean, could you kindly comment exactly?
So in terms of signed, sealed, and delivered, which part are you talking about?
Well, to what extent is the U.S. government and Philippine government, are there any legislation required?
Is for the Luzon Economic Corridor?
Correct.
No. Comments regarding reform initiatives.
So in other words, fairly high probability of this whole initiative pushing through, in your opinion, at this stage.
Yeah, I mean, the Luzon Economic Corridor, it's interesting because it's about 2 years old, and it was signed, sealed, and delivered in the previous administration, the previous U.S. government administration. So it started under Biden and then continued into Trump. And so we were pleased that Secretary Rubio endorsed the Luzon Economic Corridor on behalf of the Trump administration in July 2025 when President Marcos visited Washington. And so we really kind of took that cue from our Secretary of State and from the White House to really create momentum from the U.S. government perspective. So creating momentum behind the project, which leads us to the work we did with Louise and our Japanese counterparts to invite and attract new partners into the project.
How about the issues on
A 20-year-old girl just walked onto a tin
exploitation of our mineral resources?
and she walked France and former world number one, and an entire sold-out stadium had to rewrite everything they thought about.
Significant component.
So watch the story still isn't getting
The energy question is real.
so Washington at this exact moment. The scoreline first place
That we get by investors, potential investors who are looking to
you were
business.
going to fix the one detail changes
Second highest energy cost or power cost.
you actually care about players over the soccer don't get
We are really focused on trying to help the Philippines solve the energy. As I mentioned,
I'm asking nice because there are dozens of these stories. Most channels won't even notice that it's their old news. If you want to wonder the next one instead of talking out 3 days later, because this channel is catch these moments for the rest of the interview.
a significant sector that they are focused on.
Because it's sitting in a total suburb of Washington tonight. It could be a small piece. It could just be a QR code on somebody's phone.
For that.
But whoever bought it back west of the 2026 Nimadala DC.
Investments,
Somebody else inspired.
private equity firm,
Price
which has
and that's like Alina Smith of number 10. Tender on the women's side. Naomi Osaka, 4-time Grand Slam
Mill invest.
recognizable athlete in sport.
Sure.
Just
And we are focused on really trying
has quietly built one of the most consistent resumes on
that would
and that's the defending champion. His face was literally printed on the trunk.
We call on architect June.
What nobody's plan accounted for was Alexandra Ely. She is 24 years old. She came in.
Okay, just so we're on the same page on the order of those asking questions. After architect June, we have director Tony, past president Limbo,
And in 1,500
anyone else, any subsequent be listed chronologically. Oh, okay.
Only mentioned the things of the entire building. To understand that action, you have to determine in first place. The DC
More convenient.
from Tennessee, United States. Its chairman, Mark I, told local reporters in mid-July that the church was already about 97% of the
I support
5 top 10 players.
pay
For Grand Slam champion.
75
For former DC champions.
nations
On
development.
paper, this tournament had already won a single ball state.
Right.
Alexandra Ela was not part of that marketing plan.
You can be there in senior
She
project.
wasn't on the first.
On this.
She wasn't in the pre-tournament place.
Not much have been.
She arrived with a career high ranking in the hard, flat back. She had used just 5 pieces to knock the team out of court finally. Saint score, by the way. 363,
getting better.
That number
No longer
because it's about to batter twice. Here's the part one wants to be fair about, because there's no building. The DC did everything right.
Even the
They built a team strong enough to sell out on its own merits. Ushers were briefed on where the big names would be. Broadcast schedules were built around expected quarterfinal matches. Sponsors were told exactly which court their brand would appear on. Every part of this tournament's operation worked exactly on time. What nobody designed for was the Filipino wild strategy on no ticketing model North America don't price. That gap between the plan and what actually happened is the real story. Not a mistake,
Clark City is
not a
just
villain,
full,
just a market that had to catch up to a player in real time.
which
And
wa-
it caught up fast. Standard and premier seats for the semifinals and the final sold out completely within days, confirmed by the tournament's own announcements and by Philippine sports outlets tracking the surge in demand. Nobody from the WTA needed to issue a statement about it. The
call on
ticket resale pages did the talking for them.
I now
So
have a
how
list.
did an unseeded 28th ranked player actually get here?
I'd like to request
There are
every-
3 moments that matter, and I want to walk through them properly, because each one builds on the last. The first moment is the plan itself, the ceiling everyone expected. 97% sold out, Svitolina and Osaka as the headline names, Fernandez as the returning champion. Ilo was, at best, a name in small print. The second moment is where things start to crack. Round 1, against Jing Chinwen. Ila dropped the first set. She fell into real trouble in the second before rallying to close it out. Local reporters covering the match that night described the crowd around her as the loudest the tournament had seen all week. That's not fan hype. That's a reporter, in the building, writing down what he saw in real time. That's the first hard evidence that something at Rock Creek Park was shifting. Round 2, she beat Fernandez, the defending champion, the face on the tournament's own marketing. One marquee name, gone. Then the quarterfinal. Svitolina again. World number 10. And this is where the pattern turns into a signature. Ilo won it 6-3, 6-4, breaking Svitolina's serve 4 times in the first set alone and closing out the second with a decisive break late in the match. That was her 6th win over a top 10 opponent in 2026. The third tour-level semifinal of the season. And the second time in 5 weeks she had beaten the exact same opponent by the exact same scoreline. Different city, different surface, identical fingerprint. That's not a hot streak. That's a matchup she has genuinely figured out. Now here's where it gets even more interesting, because the semifinal wasn't the end of the story, it was the moment everything accelerated. Ila's semifinal opponent turned out to be Naomi Osaka herself, a 4-time Grand Slam champion, one of the biggest names in the sport, someone Ila had never faced before in her career. Betting markets had Osaka as the clear favorite going in. And Ila didn't just beat her. She dismantled her, 6-4, 6-2, in under an hour and a half, winning over 70% of her first serve points and handing Osaka a lopsided, one-sided defeat in front of a stadium that had sold out specifically because people wanted to see this exact matchup. Think about that for a second. A player who wasn't even on the tournament poster just eliminated a 4-time Grand Slam champion to reach her first ever WTA 500 final. That set up a final against Jessica Pegula, world number 3, a player who had already beaten Ila once before in a brutal 3-set battle at the Miami Open. This was Ila's chance to settle that score on a much bigger stage, with a WTA title on the line for the very first time in her career. And this is where the story takes the turn that makes it impossible to look away from right now. The final started late because of rain delays that pushed the start back several hours. When it finally began, Pegula came out sharp, taking the first set 6-4. Ila answered immediately, holding her opening service games to push ahead 2-1 in the second set. And then the rain came back.
I think
Thunderstorms rolled through Washington, lightning forced players off the court, and after more than 5 hours of waiting, tournament organizers made the call. The match was suspended. Not finished. Suspended. Frozen in place at 1 set to Pegula, with Hila serving and leading 2-1 in the second.
Under the
That
global
match resumes today, right now, as you're watching this, with everything still undecided. A rising, unseeded 21-year-old who has already knocked out a defending champion, a top 10 seed, and a 4-time Grand Slam champion, standing one set and a handful of games away from either completing one of the most unlikely title runs tennis has seen this year, or falling just short against a player who has already beaten her once before.
good
And here's why this matters beyond just this one weekend. If Hila wins this final, she doesn't just get her first WTA title. She locks in a career
negotiating a favorable governance framework for both sides. The negotiations are ongoing. Nothing has been decided yet. We are hopeful to have a positive framework by the end of the year. I recognize that's ambitious, but we're going to be very ambitious in this project. But I think, to your point, yes, it is BCDA land. I have visited the site. There's nothing there. It's a BCDA owned plot of land with nothing on it. There's no infrastructure. Well, there's a road. There's a road that goes past it. There's no power source. There's no water. And what we have heard from investors is we have to solve the infrastructure problem, and we have to understand how the infrastructure is going to connect the site to the rest of the Philippines before we can make an investment commitment. So everybody is asking the questions, and these are the important questions that need to be answered before we move forward, because we need to do this bilaterally, smartly, and in a way that benefits all investors, everyone committing significant resources to this project, the government of the Philippines, United States, Philippine investors, international investors, US investors. We have significant interest. But again, there are a lot of questions being asked now, and we're at the point where we should be thinking about the hard issues that go into this initiative. To your point about champions, I completely agree. In fact, we are in discussions with many of our supporters in the business community, kind of to create a network of champions. So I really appreciate your sentiment there as well. So thank you, Director Tony.
Okay, thank you for that. We now call on Past President Bimbo Mills, followed by Past President Keith Harris.
Thank you, Cheryl, for clarifying this black box to many of us, because we don't understand it. Us in the business sector, look at initiatives like this. Terms of reference is the usual export processing zone or special economic zones. Usually this is a particular area. It's defined. There are specific incentives to export, to excise tax exemptions, things like that. Percentages to supply to the local economies against for export, and a whole set of investment requirements. So question number one, the economic corridor is not like an export zone. It's just a concept of all the companies in that zone from Subic all the way to Batangas are actually part of the economic zone already, the one existing factories. The only thing that's really different is the ones owned by under Pax Silica, the area of BCDA. No, who owns that? BCDA or Clark?
The plot of land is BCDA.
Okay, so this area is where Pax Silica will be, and where special economic incentives will be provided by government. I was just asking, the only thing we have now is Create Plus. That's all. So nothing yet. So all of the incentives that will be going into implementing Pax Silica is going to be a new incentive package, if at all, or a new law or a new executive order. Is that correct? So the terms of when people keep asking, on what basis will these data centers be allowed, and rules on water, power, consent, that's still to be done. Yes.
Correct. Yes. And I would defer to the government of the Philippines for that. But I would say that this is the point of the ongoing negotiations, because the incentives package has not been defined yet. And I should also say that this is not just about putting a data center in the zone. We don't know what will eventually end up in the zone. There's a range of interest to create an ecosystem. I think we're talking about some anchor tenants, as we shall say. But all of this is very much in the TBD stage. Yes.
Because the way some people are talking is there are only I don't know how many data centers are coming in. It all depends on the incentive package that finally the Paxelica will develop to attract people who are going to plan data centers somewhere.
Papakita po sa inyo na ito po ay mango farm. Mango farm po ito. At meron din po sa Saka, meron din po siyang rice farm. Dito po, ang area po natin, ang sukat po area natin ay meron po sukat na 16 hectare. Sakto tapos yung 16 hectare, ipa-flash ko po sa screen yung kanyang title. Ganun din po ang kanyang lahat ng plan. Sayang na po, tinatanong ko yung seller kanina, bago po tinatanong ko siya.
Investing in that area, subject to these things.
You're exactly right.
Okay.
It's creating a favorable set of incentives through the negotiation process to attract the right kind of investment. Exactly.
And for the Luzon corridor, at this point in time, government is not yet planning anything over and above Create Plus. Is that what at this point in time? No? So really, the encouragement, because right now government is also pushing us out of Luzon because of the congestion and so on. No? So also there's some confusion there or hesitance there of investing, but do we stay here in Luzon? Our factory is in exactly in that corridor, but to expand there, people are saying we're supposed to get out of here, or what is it really? So this idea of the corridor is really to link up all of the companies there and maybe develop other incentives or approaches to even improve that corridor's productivity area.
Yeah, and I actually hope you'll come to the investment forum in September, because these are the exact conversations that will be happening. But you raise a very good point. So the corridor itself, it is a little bit confusing to investors because there are so many different authorities that govern the different parts of the corridor. And also, one thing we hear from our U.S. investors is it's all fine to talk to the national government, but when you get down to the LGU level, the subnational, then it gets very, very tricky because there are a different set of interests, a different set of bureaucracies. And if there's a way we can rationalize that, I know that's almost an impossible endeavor, but that's one thing that U.S. companies just foot stomp. It's very, very hard to implement through the local governments, and that's where it starts to get backed up. So can we resolve that? I don't know. That's a very difficult question, way above my pay grade, I'm afraid.
Yes, hi. Thank you very much for your talk earlier. I have a question which is slightly different from this. I noticed there are 12, well, we saw that there are 12 participants. Who are the next few in terms of the sorts of people? I don't need to know the countries, but I can see that there are huge gaps. ASEAN, I can't see any other ASEAN countries there. The big boy to the north and India.
In the back, we could ask.
We can ask him. Yes. So, and why would they want to join, whoever they may be? Because everybody who joins has a particular expertise, and presumably they don't want to compete too many times with each other as well.
Yeah.
In terms of how that.
We have heard that maybe it doesn't fit our development model or investment model, and maybe I could ask Jen, because Jen was working very hard on the partner recruitment. So if you have some additional insight, I would love to hear it.
Sure. Thanks, Sharon. So as Sharon said, the ingredients in the corridor are already there. There's so much opportunity to improve transportation connectivity, digital connectivity, to bring in the advanced manufacturing and the jobs of the future. There's really, in our opinion, there's enough to go around. There's a lot of opportunity for everyone, but how can we make sure it's coordinated? So part of the value proposition to the 12 partners is the opportunity to create this, as Sharon said, at the end of the day, the Luzon Economic Corridor is a partnership where every country is bringing its comparative advantage. If it's Denmark, shipbuilding, if it's, US advanced technology, etc., aligning them around these shared foundations and seeing how together we can create a more connected, competitive, and prosperous Luzon. So the value proposition individual countries is multifold. First of all, the opportunity to have greater visibility into the project pipeline. Just last week, and I think tonight, the partners are having coordination calls around transportation, energy, and digital where we're actually sort of, there are competitive issues, as you pointed out, but we're sort of opening some of our projects, some of the things that we're looking at and seeing where there are synergies, where maybe ROK and Australia want to team up on a digital project, or the UK and Canada on a project. We're actually looking for those synergies. Governments can come together in areas that they care about and align some of their sort of their assistance to realize that investment that makes people. It aligns with our national interest. It's an opportunity to ultimately, we do see it as returning benefits to our investors back home.
But it's also, I think initially it was also to avoid a duplication of effort. Everybody was bringing ideas, but nobody was talking to each other. So how can we complement each other, not duplicate that are necessary?
Thank you, and as well to Ms. Jennifer Schmidt for chiming in. So we now call on past President Eddie Yap, followed by past President Fred Perot.
This Pax Silica is one of the hottest topic in town, and we can see why, because in terms of GDP, we don't have much to talk about. We are a domestic consumption economy. Our neighbors have overtaken us, to be frank about it, although we have much to offer. Okay. Our human resources, I think you know that we have the talents to offer. So I would think that this project is very positive for the country, provided it's done well. Okay. The water, electricity, and things like these concerns, I think that the investors coming in would consider them. Now, there's just one thing that I would like to point out. That plan of yours, it shows Batangas all the way to Manila. That route is, as of now, and for the foreseeable future, is difficult, because if you look at C5, that one will rely on C5. And C5, you will see that container vans are lined up. Okay? So that is why I propose another alternative, that is the Naik Cavite to Maribeles link through Roro ferry ship. Okay. It is at the mouth of Manila Bay. Okay. There is also that proposal of the government to build a bridge to cross the mouth of the bay, but from what we heard is that there's the timetable has been pushed back. Therefore, I propose Roro ship ferry to cross that gap from Cavite to Maribeles. And there's also the national security aspect, because we know that San Francisco, the naval base inside the bay, have all been closed. Okay? Because if the bridge is taken down, that will in effect blockade Manila Bay, including Manila. So therefore, I would like you to seriously consider this proposal for a ro-ro ship ferry. Thank you.
No, thank you. Thank you for that. And I appreciate kind of the broader strategic thinking around this, because there are serious questions to address in that regard. But we will take back your advice and consider it and think about how we could integrate that suggestion. So thank you.
Okay, thank you. But I have terrible news. 11 persons have expressed interest in asking questions, but due to time constraints, as I mentioned earlier, we have time for only one last question and
you can invite me back in November, my birthday month.
an anniversary, if memory serves.
Anniversary.
Yes, that's right. But and the next person to ask after PP Eddie is past President Fred Parungao, and that regrettably, again, sincerest apologies, but he will be the last person to ask questions. Sincerest apologies to PP Tito, Rotarian George, and to PP Rene. Unfortunately, we will not be able to accommodate those questions. Thank you so much for your understanding. But yes.
My question, Madam, is very simple and very short. I think that with the project, Pasilica project, there will be land that will be appropriated. And I would like to know, on those lands that are appropriated, are they all owned by the government or are there private sector lands? And then what will happen to the titles of those lands while they are being used in the Pasilica project? Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for that question. I don't know the answer, but I do know that that is part of the negotiations. So there will be protections. But I am not privy to the negotiations on that. So thank you.
Okay. Thank you so much. Again, the sincerest apologies to those who will not be able to answer questions. And of course, thank you so very much to Ms. Sharon Fitzgerald for answering those questions. And I hope that she was able to answer those questions of yours. We now call in again Press Chris Ferrareza for his response.
Wow, I just realized how interesting this topic is to the members and even the ants. Okay, well, it has been a very, very insightful and fruitful discussion, I believe. Thank you so much, Councilor Sharon, for an informative and insightful presentation on the Luzon Economic Corridor. Gave us a very good and better picture of the project. It's amazing how you were able to bring together 12 from 3 countries to work together on this project. Your discussion highlighted how strategic investments in infrastructure, logistics, and connectivity can unlock new opportunities for inclusive growth and regional development. I appreciate, and I'm sure most of us in the room did, the emphasis on collaboration among government, business, and community stakeholders in building a more competitive and resilient economy. The vision you shared resonates strongly with our commitment to sustainable development and long-term progress. But I have to agree with Director Tony, however, that we also have to recognize the concerns of the people in and around the area. I'm actually a sustainability practitioner, and in one of our meetings at the CPAs for Sustainability, this is one major concern that they raised about Pasilica. Perhaps there is a way to make them feel at ease with the economic corridor because they are also part of the stakeholders. Again, thank you so much for inspiring us to think more broadly about how we can contribute to the transformation of Luzon and the Philippines as a whole. And also thank you all to Miss Jen Schmidt. Is that how you pronounce Schmidt? From the U.S. Embassy as well, and Director Luis Carino of the President's Investment Unit. Thank you so much for gracing our meeting today. Thank you. And of course, we have this project called Drip Buds project, and we are giving you this plaque as a token of our appreciation for your very good presentation. This is a replica of the steel plate which has your name on it. That will be attached to one of the pots. There you go. Okay. And while you are thinking about the proposal of past President Eddie, you can have this wine. Yes. Thank you so much.
Oh, okay. Ladies and gentlemen, another round of applause, please, for our guest speaker, Ms. Sharon Fitzgerald of the United States Embassy in Manila. And to upon the advice of Press Chris, the Ands might be interested in having their photos taken as well with Ms. Sharon Fitzgerald, our guest speaker for today. Yes, and of course with Ms. Jennifer Schmidt and who else? Director Luis Carino, you may please come to the front for a photo op. Yeah, of course, yes. Actually, anyone who is interested in having their photos taken, yeah, please come to the front. Thank you. Oh yeah, sure. Ringo, join us. Ringo, join us. Have someone else do it. Let somebody. Come on, our bosses are waiting. Our bosses are waiting. Ringo, come on. Okay. For that final today. Thank you. Please. Now we're waiting for. Keep waiting to the phone. Now, Tian. Okay. Thank you. Yeah. Thank you. Oh, wait. Sorry. Fine. Right, thank you. It is that time as well. It's for a raffle for a bottle of. I'm sorry. Before the raffle, I'd like to invite Press Chris to adjourn the meeting, please. Thank you.
Fellow Rotarians and guests, thank you so much for attending this afternoon's meeting. The meeting is adjourned.
Yeah, here we go. I am really disappointed that I've never won this raffle. Oh, George! The hell? What? Again? This raffle is rigged. This is third time to win. What the hell?